Hi, this video will be the first in my 2017 St. Patrick's Day cards, and this card is very simple to come together. It features a little bit more material than my last couple of cards, but it's still just a simple card with some basic techniques. I have a little bit of watercoloring on the inside, but you could not watercolor that if you didn't want to. You can replicate this card with any stamps you have. These are just stamps that I picked up from dollar store bins in my local craft store, but they're very simple. Let me go over the materials that I'll be using today. As always, these materials will be listed on this video down below so that you can take your time looking at it. So the papers I'm going to be using will be a card base cut 5.5 by 8.5, a black mat cut 4 inches by 5 1/4, a green pattern panel cut 3 3/4 by 3, a stripe panel cut 3 3/4 by 2 1/4, a white panel cut 3 3/4 by 5 inches, a white strip cut 5 1/4 by 1 inch. This can be longer. This is just a scrap that you'll need. It can be longer but no shorter because you'll have to cut it at a diagonal. And a white strip cut 5 1/4 by 1/2 inch. Again, it can be longer but no shorter. I also have a green scrap of paper. It doesn't matter, it just needs about at least 1 inch, but this is a good size for what I need to do. And a very teeny scrap of brown. This is just a little piece of paper that I just trimmed off cardstock, and it is about 2.5 inches long. Okay, that's the papers. Now the inks I'm going to be using today will be Memento Desert Sand, Cottage Ivy, and Bamboo Leaves. Also, I'm going to be using Bundled Sage Distress ink. You can use any distress ink or any green ink for this. And my old standby Versafine Onyx Black. I'm also going to be using Wink of Stella glitter pins. I have this multi-pack here, but any glitter pin will do. You need a green one, a yellow one, and a brown one. The stamps I'm using today will be Flower Shop. By Stampin' Up, I'll be using this flower here. I also have a hat that I picked up at the craft store at some point. And you also need 2 sentiments, one for the outside and one for the inside. Okay, let's set this aside, making room. We have a lot of stuff coming in today. I'm also going to be using green washi tape. I have some dotted washi tape here. And I need a white brad. I have this multi-pack. I got this at Michael's. These are just button brads. I'll need glue dots. I'll need the Stampin' Up paper piercing tool. And I'll need the Stampin' Up water brush. And I also need a fingertip sponge dauber. You just put this on your finger and use it to daub your ink. Of course, I will need foam tape. I live with it. And I also need a stamping mat. This was sold in this 3-piece set by Stampin' Up. It has the foam mat, a hard, forgivable cutting surface, and a template for you to punch holes with. And I'll need the foam bit for this. I also have need for some punches here. I almost forgot them. Let's bring these in. Whoops! Hope that doesn't happen to you. I have the large flower punch by Stampin' Up. The flower punch from I believe this was called the Punch Bunch. It was a 3-piece set of punches, also Stampin' Up. And I have this Fisker's 1/2 inch circle punch. And I believe that's all the materials. It seems like a lot, but it'll go together really quick. And speaking of which, let's get started. Okay, the first step will be to work on my panel. Bring in my Stampin' Mat so that you can see the white strip. Now where is the end? The washi tape tends to be a little bit see-through, and I didn't particularly care for that look with this particular pattern paper, so I decided to mount it on a white strip. So that's what that strip is for. So I'm just going to pull it out and line it up near as I can with the edge of the strip and press it down. And trim this. It's a good idea to fold over the tip of your washi tape so that you don't have to struggle through it like I just did. Alright, set that aside. And now we want to do our flower. The reason we're doing our flower next is because we are going to be punching the flowers out of this white panel. So I need to be sure that I do that first because I need this to put down the other stuff. So the Flower Shop stamp set is like some of the Stampin' Up stamps. There's a certain way that it has to go into the punch in order for it to properly punch. So a trick that I learned from Francis Martin was to put a little dot on the bottom of the stamp, and in this case I chose the side, but here you have it, and then line this stamp up with the punch and put a corresponding mark on the punch, so that way I know if I stamp this way, then I will be able to punch it that way also. So that's what the little dot means. So I'm getting my Cottage Ivy. And I have to be sure that I stamp far enough in that I can still punch it out, but not so far that the punch won't reach. So I need it to be like in this area. Okay, good stamping. Set that aside. Now take the punch, and as you can see, it lines up pretty good. I just need to give it a little twisting motion. And once you're sure where you're going to punch, you hold it just a little bit so that it engages with the paper, and then fully commit and go all the way. Alright, that's one. And now I need to clean this stamp because I need to punch it a second time in the desert sand to make the center for the circle. And this is just a cleaning rag, which is I've soaked with the stamping mist that I made. I showed that in another video how to make that. And now I need the desert sand. And I'm going to punch really close down because this punch can only go in a little bit. But I just need to get the center. And to protect my stamp mat from the ink, I'm going to put it on some paper. And hold it somewhere near the edge. Ooh, barely got it. I might need to punch that again. I think I need to punch that again. So let's just twist it. This is why I usually get the photopolymer stamps, because I can see through it. There, that's much better. Okay, and now I take my circle punch and punch that out. And it's best to turn punches upside down so you can see where you're punching. So center that in there and give it a little punch. Alright. Now I need my glue dot. These are just glue dots which are on a tape. At the end of this one, as you could probably tell. So take the circle and put it on the glue dot and then pull it up. And I'm going to try and line up the patterns a little bit. I think it goes this way. and press it down. One flower. I'll set that aside so I don't lose it. Now I'm going to use this piece of paper to help me line up the edges of this paper. This paper is cut the same dimensions that I want my panel to be. So I'll bring in my tape, ATG gun, very important stamper's helper tool. Alright, and line this up with the bottom as straight as you can get it. Get the press, and now this one. This is actually cardstock. If it was paper, pattern paper, I would probably switch to my smaller tape runner rather than ATG, because sometimes the taping against the paper can tear it a little. So this is lined up toward the top of the panel. I use this trick so I don't have to worry about lining up the two pieces of paper. Okay, give it a press. Now at this point I need to figure out how I want my diagonal. This is still sticky because the washi tape is wider on one side than the other, so it has a little thin bit of adhesive, and I want it to start just below where the two papers meet and put it at a slight angle. I think that slightly diagonal, and then press that tape back. And now I need to put a little bit more adhesive on that because, as I said, it didn't stay. So now I have to line it up again. Okay, press. Okay, now set that aside for a moment and take the larger white strip, and I'm going to stamp on this side of the panel, but not too close to the edge here, using my black this time. And I've already put the stamp on my stamp block. Okay. I think that's good. All right. Okay. Now I want to make sure that I get this to show as much washi tape as I can without showing the ridge. So I think that's good. I tend to over tape these little panels because I do not want it to come loose as the card is handled. Okay, that's good. All right, now you just flip this over and trim the edges. Okay, everything's pressed down. Now this will be put onto the black mat. Bring back my ATG gun. This is how you can save your paper by cutting out things in your places which will not be seen. Okay, just make sure it's straight. Give it a good press. Okay, coming together now. Now to move on to the inside of the card. Set this aside for a moment and bring in the card base. The card base was scored at 4 1/4, and you have the valley side on the outside, the mountain side on the inside, and this is the side that you stamp on for the inside of the card. So now I'm taking my black and I'm stamping my sentiment and the hat on the inside of the card. I got a little bit of shadow there, but I decided I can live with it. Afterwards, I'm going to take my acrylic block and the green ink, and I'm going to stamp onto the acrylic block, and using my water pen, I'm going to watercolor the hat. Now I'm starting from the left side and going to the right side because the left side needs to be darker, so more color of the ink should be on the left, and then fading out. When I wanted the color to be a little bit lighter, I just gave the water pen a little bit of squeeze, and the water will dilute the ink. And I also needed some paper towel to clean that off. And now I'm moving to the darker ink, and I'm going to color the shamrock. And it is the same method that I did for the hat. To clean the pen, you just squeeze it until the ink is carried through by the clear water. And now I'm taking 3 different colors of glitter pen and filling in the letters one by one. Okay, now I just need to set that aside so it can dry for a moment. And while I'm doing that, let's make the flower, which is a shamrock. So one of these leaves have to come off because shamrocks do not have 5 leaves. So just push this one out of the way so I don't accidentally cut something I don't want, and you just cut off the leaf. You could also do this before you put on the center, which would probably made more sense, but this works too. Okay. All right. I think the card is dry enough to close. So taking my bone folder, press it closed, and my panel, bring that back. Okay, and foam tape on the back of the flower. Now this little thin strip of brown, need to stick it to the foam tape. And then just put the shamrock in place. Trim that at a slight diagonal if it was a little too long there. Okay, now the last thing is to make my little flower. So I'm bringing in my punch, my green scrap. As you see, this is way bigger than I needed. Punch. And where did I put my little thing? I bring in my foam mat and my piercing tool, which I dropped. And using the heel of the piercing tool, you want to just put your piercing tool in the center and roll it. And this makes the petals pop up a little bit. Okay. I'm going to need this again, but I don't want to accidentally stick myself, so I'll put the top on it. Now bring in the distress ink and the little finger dauber. We'll darken up the petals a little bit. so it doesn't look so strangely green. Okay, that's good enough. Finish with that. Now, we need that brad for the center of the flower. That's 2. Okay. Now taking the piercing tool, find the center and make a hole through it into the mat, and just take the brad and feed it right through. As I mentioned, scrapbooking doesn't like long nails. And here we go. Okay. Now, oh, I was supposed to put the hole in before I put it on the card. Well, pretend I didn't do that. Before you put that down, you want to put that hole in there. So you can see that it's very simple to make a mistake, but it's fine. It just adds more interest. So you just feed it in there, flip it over, and open out the brad. There. So it's all finished now. Just need to add a little bit of sparkle for the letters. My hand is not as steady as it used to be, but you get the idea. Okay, so that's the card today. It went together very fast, as I promised. I just made that little mistake with the brad that I mentioned. Don't worry about that. People will be glad to have a homemade card. They won't argue about that. But if it bothered you, if you made this mistake, you could take another panel, cut to 5 1/4 by 4, and just put it right over here and cover that up. So I hope you'll try this card yourself. It can be used for any number of occasions, not just St. Patrick's Day. You could leave this as an entire flower and put another sentiment here, and it'll be just fine. So I hope that helps you get your interesting ideas flowing, and I hope you'll continue watching my videos. And thank you. Have a good day.